Hello, hello. Ooh, wow. Sorry, guys. Hi, guys. Come on over and we'll get started. All of us who are not at some kind of graduation party or event this evening. Thanks for coming to hang out. We're going to do another fun little different thing. Last week, we started off our summer series ish. And we're doing a fun thing this summer where we're going to do a lot of collaborative and kind of interactive Sundays each month. And each month sort of has a different theme. So, oh, I don't know if those guys can. Hey, psst. Hey, psst. Hey. Sorry. This month we are talking about synergy, which is a very fancy, special-sounding word, which means working together. And before we jump into that, which we have a guest who's going to speak for us today, I had a couple announcements I wanted to give you. So let me jump down here real quick. We'll go back. Sorry, guys. That was too fast. June 17th is this coming Friday evening. We're having a ladies' night out. Not we, but you are having a ladies' night out. I won't be there. And it's going to be at McMenamins over on 19th Street. And it looks like 5:30 to 7:30. And I think that's just going to be a lot of shuffleboard and hanging out. I liked Melissa's comment in the email she sent out that said, "You've never had so much fun watching pucks move so slowly." But ladies will be hanging out there if whoever wants to show up among us for that. And then the next weekend will be June the 25th, and the guys are invited to go to an M's game. We're playing Spokane. I have no idea what that means. What? Yeah, as in we, the Eugene M's. Yeah, no, I'll be on the field. What we want to do is for whoever is going, we want to reserve some seats together, and those seats are $11 each. So if you want to do that, sign up. We'll buy the tickets, and then you can reimburse us for the $11. Or if you'd like assistance paying for the ticket, we can help with that too. But you need to sign up by a week from today, so that we can buy those reserved seats together and kind of all hang out together, or else we don't know if we'll get to sit together, which that's kind of the point. And then the last thing that's happening this month is the last Sunday of this month, which is the following Sunday after that, M's game, June 26th. We're not going to be down here. We'll put a sign up on the door, and we'll all be at Emerald Park, which is out River Road. And we're going to hang out we have the shelter reserved, and we're going to basically do our potluck and hang out over there. The kids will play. We'll bring some activities. I know we have a bocce ball set coming, and I know someone in our group owns an oversized bowling set, inflatable, like very, very large bowling pins and a bowling ball. So that will be out there, and then there's the park and food and all that stuff. So we'll be hanging out there starting at 4 o'clock that day. Any questions about this month? All righty. Just to keep it on your radar, we are going to do another barbecue at the end of July, but that will be at Gene and Pam Skinner's house. Instead of having a service down here. And then in August, the first weekend in August is our group camping trip. Whoever wants to go camping, you can invite whoever you want. In fact, any of the stuff you can invite whoever you want. But we're going to go to Whitaker Creek Recreation Area, which is on the way to the coast, about halfway out there, maybe a little farther. And it's a really nice little spot, and we'll just be camping whoever wants to camp. So that all sounds like fun. Hey, let me say a prayer for us, and then I would like to invite Miss Jessie Prue to come up. She's going to share with us. So would you bow your head and pray with me? God, thanks for a nice place to be on a Sunday evening. Thanks that when we gather together in your name, that you're here among us in a special way. You're always with us, God. We don't have to worry about you ever leaving us. But there is something really special gathering together in this community. We've committed ourselves to you to learn to love you, and we want to know more about how to follow in your way. But we've also committed ourselves to each other in various ways and to being a community together. Show us how to be that and how to love each other well, how to help each other, and how we can all take steps forward towards the goal together. Thanks that you have brought us together and that we have this wonderful place. And we open our hands and our hearts to those who would want to come and be a part of this too, so that no one would feel excluded or left out. Thanks for including us, God, and thanks that we can do that with each other. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, here comes Jessie, and you have no idea what you're in for.
Thank you. All right, so today I'm excited to sort of combine some of my own personal passions. So hopefully it will feel fun, collaborative. I get to bring some stuff that I'm a middle school teacher, so I'm kind of bringing a teaching lesson that I've done with my students before, and now I'm going to apply it to some adults, which will be fun. But it's all about working together, and then the goal of what today is all about really is about some self-discovery in this process. So on everything that we're doing, it's about understanding ourselves, and then eventually it'll be about how do we then apply that to when we're working with other people. So I think I just touched the screen, correct? Okay, cool. Oh, yay, they all come up individually. So here's some. We're talking about this idea of synergy, and so that's the theme of this whole month. And so in case you forget what synergy is actually talking about, it's the effect of the sum of two or more agents combined being greater than the sum of the individuals. So it's this whole idea of when you take one and then you add it with another one, that it actually creates something that's bigger than two. So this idea of working together to create something that's bigger than anything we could do on our own. So that idea of synergy. So then today, last week, Joel had the question of what makes synergy work or not work, and he brought up 3 ideas, and I'm going to be talking about one of them today. So we talked about this idea of trust, that if you're working with other people and you're being collaborative, that in order for synergy, this sort of give and take within a group setting to work, you have to have trust, you have to have a common goal, and then you have to have communication. So communication is what we're going to be focusing on today, sort of mixed in with some other elements. And just by the way, I'm going to try and go through my talking portion kind of efficiently, because I really want the focus today of be the interactive, actually working together part. So if I'm going through this a little bit quickly, it's intentional. So he brought up in Ephesians 4:15 through 16, talking about communication. So communication is the way we relate. It's the way we interact from one person to another person. So when we talk about a relationship, it's more than just, there is relationship within ourselves, because we're like multiple part beings in a way. But really when we're talking about relationship with other people, the way that we relate is through communication. So it's the process in which relating takes place. And then the last one is it's also the process in which we share information. So if we're supposed to be working together in some way, then there's information that has to be shared, because otherwise, if me and Jonathan are going to work together on something, and maybe we have trust and maybe we have a common goal, but then we decide not to talk to each other at all in the whole process, then I'm guessing that the result of that would probably not end up being the common goal of what we were doing, unless our goal was to not talk to each other. But what's interesting is that communication can be both verbal, so I'm talking with somebody, and it can also be nonverbal, like what you do and the actions that you take communicate something to the people that you're working with. But this whole idea of communication, we'll be focusing on it in terms of how we relate to each other, and then also how we share information with each other. So I have these I'm a very visual person, so I like finding pictures to aid me in anything I'm talking about. So when we talk about the question, why is relating in a collaborative way important to completing a goal? So we have a goal, and we have the option. Do I work on it on my own, or do I work on it with other people? And what we're going to be talking about today are all of the benefits of why does it help when we're working with each other to complete this goal. So there's the whole idea of we all have different perspectives and different knowledge. So one thing I'll do in my classroom a lot of times is I'll have a day that will be focusing on like problem solving. So I'll give like a kind of open-ended problem. So here's this situation, and we have to find a solution to this problem. Well, if you give it to just an individual, then that individual has their own limited knowledge, experience, skill sets, whatever else. And so they might get to a point where they might be able to solve that problem on their own, or they might get to a point where they run out of their own capacity and they kind of like hit a dead end. And so one of the really cool things about working with each other is that you have all these other perspectives and all these other pieces of knowledge that individually we wouldn't have. So if we're now trying to get this common goal, this solution to this common problem, we now get to join forces of all these different things, and we have way more options to reach a solution and combine all those efforts. We also talk about this idea of divide and conquer. So If I'm going to build a brick wall, then I could build it on my own and brick by brick build my wall. Or I could say, hey, you take the foundation, I'll lay the mortar, that's the right word, correct? I'll lay the mortar and then I'll put the finished bricks on top. And then there's this amazing thing where you get to divide and conquer, and there's more hands to complete this goal. So not only do you not get maybe as tired, maybe you can help kind of give energy by like, yeah, like you take a break and I'll take this one and you come back in when you can. Or just the whole idea that there's just more hands to complete the task, whatever it is. And then, of course, the different skill sets and resources. So if you're really good at paying attention to details, and I'm really good at paying attention to like keeping track of our time and being efficient with how we're moving along step by step, then combining those skill sets, we now get to have a better process by helping each other out with what we bring to the table. Okay, so then my question, beneficial? Yes. Difficult? Yes. So talking about this whole idea of why it's difficult, with some more pictures that will come up. So when we talk about communication, so what's the problem? Okay, so we're all going to work together. It sounds really great. We get to divide and conquer. We get to like join forces, and we get to, multiply. This whole idea of that two of us is actually more than the power of each of us combined individually, but that it's more than that. So then what's the problem? So I kind of changed the word miscommunication to miscommunication. There's this whole idea of we talk differently. Oh yeah, I have notes. I'm supposed to be talking about these. We talk differently. We use different language. We use different experiences to help us perceive how somebody should hear something. Okay, I have this piece of information, so now I have to use my communication of how am I actually going to communicate it. I thought this saying was really funny, that I'm only responsible for what I say, but not for what you understand. Well, that is a very selfish view of, imagine if I did that as a teacher, right? If I walk into my classroom of 30 students and I'm like, well, I'm only responsible for what I'm saying. Whether or not you understand it is really up to you. I don't think that I would probably accomplish much teaching with that mentality, because I would probably only reach the people who operate the way that I do. The way that I talk and the things that I say and the way I, represent something would probably only reach a very small fraction of the people that I'm supposed to be reaching in total, because I speak very specifically to how I operate. So this idea of we miss each other all the time, miscommunication. And I liked this little picture down here. There's this woman and she's like in the laundromat taking off her clothes, and the sign, you probably can't read it, it says, "When finished washing, please remove all your clothes." So assuming that the real message there, the intent is that means from the laundry. Like when you're done, you need to remove all of your laundry because this is a shared space, so you can't just leave it in there because then somebody else can't use it. But interpreting it word for word, she's like, oh, well, my laundry's done. I guess I got to remove all my clothes. So there's this whole idea of what we say may seem really clear to us, but it is not always really clear to the person that's receiving it. So one thing I wanted to bring up was, I went a few weeks ago, I think it was like a month ago now. I went to this place called Dinner of the Ducks. So I used to play soccer at the University of Oregon. And so Dinner with the Ducks, or Dinner of the Ducks, I can't remember what it's called. They invite student athletes who are just getting ready to make that transition from a collegiate athlete into the professional world, whatever they decide to do. And they've done a really good job now trying to help that transition by teaching these student athletes not just how to be, mastering their athletic skills, but mastering how are they going to take what they've been doing for most of their life as an athlete and now use it to their benefit as they go out into the professional world. So they invited me, because I was a previous athlete who's now in the professional world, along with, there ended up being like 100 people there. It was this really cool event. And they invited the keynote speaker. It was a woman from Nike, who's worked at Nike for like 26 years or something ridiculous. And so she had all these amazing accomplishments of what she had done in her career with Nike. And one of the coolest things she's talked about was, she said the most challenging and the most rewarding thing that she's ever done with Nike was she was the head coordinator for the most recent Olympics. So in 2012, she was the Nike coordinator for the Olympics. Was that London? Was that the last one? I can't remember. Anyways, doesn't really matter. But so she was talking about this experience, and it was so, I mean, first of all, I heard her say it and like I already felt daunted by the task. Like, oh my gosh, you are take the thousands of people that represent Nike when you're going to something as huge as the Olympics, this worldwide event, and she's the coordinator. The final word, the final yes or no, the final planning, whatever it is, all went to her. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what a task. So she started talking about, after the Olympics were done, that so many people were coming up to her, and she wasn't saying this in an egotistical way, she was just saying it in like a shared victory kind of a way, that she was saying, people were like, man, I've never seen, so many things all come together in such a fluid way, and so many different tasks sort of all line up and work out the way they were supposed to. And she fully 100% attributed it to her ability to see people and empower people to do what they're good at. And then figuring out how to take all of our individual empowerments and empower us together. So that's a big goal for anything that we're going to be doing and talking about today, is understanding how to empower ourselves, so how to be empowered in who I am and what I'm good at and where maybe I have some deficits. And then also recognizing how can we use that to also recognize how to empower the others of us around us and kind of work in this communal empowerment setting. So it was really, really cool listening to her. So I just want to make sure I'm on the right page of what I'm talking about. So now this whole idea of the miscommunication. When we are met with a situation where we have a joint task, a common goal that we're trying to accomplish, one of the hardest parts of that is that we all are so different. It's like one of the best and worst parts of trying to accomplish something together. We all bring these awesome, cool things to the table, and when used appropriately, we can do way more than we could on our own. At the same time, we're also so different. So I might communicate this way, and you might communicate this way, and so in us trying to combine our efforts, we're just hitting our heads against the wall. Or it might be, well, I'm really focused on speed. I'm all about being efficient. How do we get from A to Z the fastest, or the most efficiently? Whereas somebody else might be really taking account into the details. Well, if we go there too quickly, then we might have not accounted for all of these things that, like, did we take care of A, and then A1 and A2 and A3, and then maybe B1 and B2 and B3, and so on. Well, that's just one example of how basically someone's individual processing would directly sort of compete. So how do you take all of those things and combine them in an effective way? So what we're going to be doing today, Joel, I think, brought this up last week, is we're going to be focusing on communication. And when we talk about, did you talk about this last week? Okay, never mind. Then I'll talk about it now. There's this thing that some of us might have heard about, which is called core values, which is kind of understanding, like, how did God create us with sort of where we place our priorities and how we filter what's important, more important or less important, kind of in a nutshell. When you talk about corporately, so that means like in a group, what's the goal of us coming together with all of our core values in a group? It would be to invite others to unify and accurately complete the goal. So it's not just saying complete the goal. It's not just saying inviting other people into the process. It's saying that all of these things are a part of completing the goal, that we have to invite other people, that we have to stay unified. Then we have to make sure we do it accurately, and of course then we have to actually complete the goal. So really what that's talking about then is that each part of the process is both necessary and important. So how do we do that? Some questions to consider would be, I'm going to show you all at the same time. So some questions would be, how is each part assigned within a group? Who represents each part? And then what does it look like to represent each part? So when we talk about group things, it could be maybe you're in a work world, so you're talking about trying to do a project in a work world sense. Maybe it's you're in a traffic jam, so how do we cooperate and work together with total strangers where we're in our individual cars and we need to kind of all get to where we're going. It could be if you're trying to plan a kid's carpool. It could be if you're going on a camping trip. There's all these different examples of where we collaborate for a common purpose. In every part of our life. So there might be self-assigned things, like do you get to choose your own role and what you play in this environment? Or maybe it's sporadic, like, oh, nobody's doing that yet, so I guess I'll fill that in. Or maybe it's assigned to us, like if you're working in a job and your boss says, you're doing this and you're doing this and so on. So what we're going to do today. So today we will enact a simulation where each person will be assigned a particular role to play within their team. So today you're being assigned roles. And again, remember our whole kind of goal of today is self-discovery. Like you're going to be assigned a role, and so you're going to play that role, but then part of it is understanding like, okay, am I good at this role, or was this really challenging for me? Or do I like this role, or do I really not like to play this type of role? And then what type of communication actually comes with these roles? So we have 4 roles that each person will be playing on a team. So the first one is the facilitator, and you actually all have these at your table. They're upside down, so if you want to look at them with me while I'm going through them, you can. But I'm just going to kind of speed round through them to give you an idea of what each role is. So there's a facilitator. So this is the part where, oh, I forgot that this is from school. So ignore the definition a little bit. We'll be more focusing on what they sound like. So the facilitator is kind of the person that brings all of the elements together. So at the bottom of your little card, it would say, they may say things like, what are your thoughts, so-and-so? Or what is the problem actually asking? Or I hear you saying, Mike, blah, 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 blah. Is that right? Or how can we build on what Kalila just said? So it's asking questions and encouraging conversation that's all about bringing all of the elements into the picture. Okay, if you go to the next, I have the recorder as number 2. So the recorder is the person that will be writing everything down. So when you're working in your team, there's actually only one person that's going to be allowed to write anything down, and it's the recorder. Nobody else is going to be allowed to write anything down. Draw any pictures, make any notes, nothing. One person has the pen. So they are going to be doing things like reading ideas back to the group. Like, here's what I have written down so far, summary. They'll be writing down the brainstorming from the group. They might draw pictures, diagrams, illustrations to help visualize for the group. They'll be writing the solving process. So whatever you decide is your plan of action, you'll be writing that down and then be stating it clearly for the group to move forward. Number 3 is the timekeeper. For the sake of our numbers, I think I'm going to give up the timekeeper today, because I think instead of groups of 4, I think we'll do groups of 3. So I'll act as your timekeeper for everybody today. But just so you know, the timekeeper would be encouraging the group to stay on task. Let's not waste time. Let's stay on task. They would be splitting it up so that it would be getting done in reasonable time increments. Like, hey guys, we only have 2 minutes left. We should probably get to the actual like fruition of the goal now. And then making sure that it gets done on time. And then the last one is the checker. So the checker is looking for accuracy, paying attention to whether or not it's right or wrong, or if it's on the right track to the solution. So they might say things like, wait, what was the given information again? Or does this actually answer the question that was given to us? Making sure that other people agree. So do you agree with what this person offered as an idea? And then how can we actually check if it's correct or not? So analyzing if we're on the right page, are we going in the right direction? And then if there's extra time, they could always read the solution back to the group and see if everyone is still in agreement. Okay, so those are the 4 roles. And you guys will be playing one of the 3 today, and I'll do the timekeeper. All right, now, the actual task at hand is we're going to do tallest tower. So your goal today is to work with a team to construct the tallest tower in a set amount of time, and your only materials are paper and tape. So I have brought a whole mound of newspaper that family members have been helping me collect. I also have a bunch of recycled papers from my job that I stole. So you have all of this to work with too. We've got a whole basket of, or box I should say, of masking tape. So your masking tape is your method of adhesion today. And then within your team, you're going to be playing one of those roles in the planning process. So the first thing you'll be doing is an individual brainstorming. So on your table, you have full sheets of paper that are blank on the back, and they have questions on the other side. So on the blank side of your paper, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to just brainstorm your own ideas. And then we're going to take a few minutes where you'll get to actually talk with your group and come up with your group planning phase. After that, we will start our group construction phase. So you'll actually get to talk to each other and start constructing for a few minutes. And then you have your silent construction phase. which means you are not allowed to verbally speak to one another at all. So hopefully you've got a really good plan in place, and then you can just keep working without communication of verbal method. After that, we will officially measure the towers and see who has the tallest tower. And then the very last thing you'll do today to kind of wrap us up is we'll just take a couple minutes so that you can kind of reflect on the activity. But I won't really be doing any talking after the activity, so I'm kind of done with that part. So before we get started, are there any questions or comments on anything I've been talking about so far on the task? Yes, Michael Prue.
How tall was the tallest one in your 8th grade class?
In my 8th grade class, the tallest tower was 8 feet tall. It was like 7'11" or something. What? One note to make is you are not allowed to anchor your tower to anything. So you can't tape it to the ground, you can't tape it to a wall, you can't tape it to a person. It needs to be freestanding. And you cannot interact in any negative way to any other team. You cannot steal all of the supplies so that there is nothing left. You cannot intentionally knock over a tower of another team. So you can only focus on your own. Can you tell that I teach 8th graders because I have to say things like this? Okay, so you can't negatively interact with any other team, okay? Okay, any other questions or comments? Nada. So we'll do teams of 3. So take the timekeeper out of the stack. And with the other roles, take like 30 seconds, and it's up to your group how you want to decide who plays what role. So I think, Jimmy, if you're willing to work with them, I think we're good with sets of 3. And then you guys can, you can be good. Got it, perfect. That's all about collaboration. Okay. So take 30 seconds, split up the roles, and then we'll get started. Oh, did you already split it up? Okay, 30 more seconds for assigning roles. What? You're on it? You're good? Yes, only in that section, yes. Yes. Yes, okay, so now what we're going to enter into is the individual brainstorming. So I'm actually probably going to shorten it to 2 minutes just because you guys are adults and not 13-year-olds. So 2 minutes, no talking at all, individual brainstorming on the blank sheet of paper of what you think would get the tallest tower. So pictures, words, notes, whatever you want, okay? So 2 minutes, ready, go. You're halfway through individual brainstorming. I think the most common shape I've seen so far is a rectangle. I've also seen lots of triangles, some cones, and some stars. 15 seconds. That is your time. Okay, so we now need to enact our role. So as your role card states, you're going to be trying to enact that role today. So our next thing is the group design phase. So as a reminder, if you're the record keeper, or the recorder, you're the only one who gets to write or draw anything. Okay, so give the pen, paper, whatever you want to work on to that person. And we're going to do 3 minutes of group design starting now. Yes. I'm seeing lots of hand motioning. You're halfway through group design.